Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good
We're
evening.
back.
We are back. Oh my God, I missed everybody. Ellis, how you been?
I've been good. I miss this show. This is my exhale each week, right? Just to come here and talk with y'all about healthy eating because it helps me because after Thanksgiving and then going on a little mini vacation, a little mini work / vacation. Let's just say I have not eaten the best, and so I need to get back.
That, that's okay. We got you. I got something for you. But yes, I missed you guys too, and I'm so glad to be with you. For those who don't know, I am Dr. Monique. I am your board certified family physician who you know as a physician in the kitchen. And through my healthy eating platforms, such as my books and my soon to be released cookbook, Doc Fix My Plate, the physician in the kitchen's guide to your healthy meal makeover, and my online cooking classes, I help busy households just like yours enjoy healthy eating without impacting their hectic schedules. Guys, gals, it is holiday season. I mean, I want to be inclusive, right? We've got Christmas, we've got Kwanzaa, we've got Hanukkah, we've got all kinds of things going on. So we're going to talk about how do we bridge that? How do we get through Thanksgiving and now the upcoming holidays and into the new year without feeling just totally defeated? Okay. So, but you know what we do around here, right? We rep that zip code, rep that area code, drop in the chat where you are watching us from. And because sharing is caring, you want to be sure to tag your friends, your family, your loved ones, and let them know to come on in this house. And as my grandmother would say, fellowship with us for a while. So, Ellis, we've got a lot to get through. And, we've said before, this is the fastest 30 minutes, right? Peloton, 30 minutes, and blackdoctor.org, 30 minutes, not the same.
No, definitely not the same.
Not the same. So, all right, Lisa Lauren, thank you so much for joining us from Virginia. I was in Virginia in April, Virginia Beach. Had a wonderful, wonderful time. So, I've had a busy week. So, speaking of the book, I actually submitted my final proofread. So it is
Okay.
in the hands of the publishers, and I'm looking forward to being able to get that out to everyone. I'm so excited. We need to do a show and talk about this book, Ella. So we'll talk about that later. But we've got Northeast Ohio, we've got Atlanta, Georgia. Candace Price Grant says she loves this show. Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for that love. I see Brooklyn's in the house. I'm from the Bronx, so
Is
love
Brooklyn
that.
in the house?
I have I'll say that later. But yeah, so we've got Little Rock, Arkansas. I spent some time in Memphis, Tennessee. So I've definitely touched a lot of touch points here. Chicago, y'all are coming on in. I love it. So today we've got kind of full schedule today. So what we're going to talk about today is, Thanksgiving's passed. We're heading into the Christmas. The Christmas is what, 2 weeks from Saturday, believe it or not.
Yes.
And so I just want to share with you a few tips, 4 tips on how to kind of reset, right? We've got that reset button. We're going to do Control Alt Delete, right? When your computer's acting up and you got to kind of, you want to shake it and throw it, but instead you hit the Control Alt Delete. We're going to talk about how that looks on your plate. Okay. So, oh my goodness, all the way from California. I love it.
Yep.
So, number one, I want to say, if you've, one of my favorite gospel songs is "We Fall Down," right? But we what? We get back up.
We get back up.
So if you maybe didn't follow the game plan, or your execution was less than ideal, don't beat yourself up. And I'm talking to you, Alice, and me. I'm talking to me as well. But don't beat yourself up, because as we've talked about many times on this show, it's a process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and we're human. We're going to make mistakes. So show yourself some grace and use it as a learning experiment or experience, excuse me. Kind of look back and process that, because that's where the growth happens, right? When you make the mistake, but what do you learn from it? And then what do you take from it that you can do better on next time? So don't beat yourself up, dust yourself off, get back on track, because you got this, you got it. Number 2, and this is kind of a big one. and for me, I think is don't shop hungry, right? So you're planning the rest of your,
Mm,
maybe you got to get through the holidays, you got to do other cooking and so forth. So you go shopping, but don't shop hungry. We know that that's like a no-no, right? Because when you go to the grocery store hungry, your eyes are like this big.
and you
Right.
start craving that sugar, right? Yeah, it's something about that. It's like because that's a quick fix, and
Mhm.
so I find myself buying more junk when I go into the store
Well,
hungry.
that's intentional. That there's the psychology of how grocery stores are set up, right? If you
Right.
think about it, just think about your grocery store. You've got to when you walk in, typically the produce is in the front, on the right or left. But
Mm,
think about like the other staples, like your if add milk and eggs and cheese, like things that people kind of, need, that's all the way in the back
right.
corner. So you got to go down all these other aisles
Right.
to get to that stuff. And then when you go to check out, what's right there at the counter, right?
Oh, candy
Candy and the chips and the
and the
sodas.
sodas. Yeah.
So it's all intentional. So, but here's one thing or one trick or you can do is don't shop at all. Dr. Monique, what do you mean don't shop? Use an online service, right? Don't even go in the store. Have them do the shopping for you. Your local Instacart or your local grocery stores. A lot of grocery stores are offering that service themselves. That way, you're not even stepping foot in the store, or you just go in and grab your bags and and run out, or just have them bring them to your car. And that way, and I'm not a paid endorser for Instacart, so don't I
Right.
get nothing from
Right.
saying this. Um, but that way you remove that temptation. You remove that layer of, well, if I see it, because it's so pretty and it's so brightly lit and everything. They've got the holiday stuff out. I mean, because I actually was in the grocery store today. I used Instacart, but I realized there was something I forgot. So I was like, well, let me just run in here and get this potato. I was in there to get some vegetables.
Right.
Um, but you walk in and right there in the front of the store is what? The cakes and the cookies and the holiday treats and everything. So if you know that you're
And just as a gentle reminder, we're in the middle of a pandemic still. So using Instacart is a way to stay safe, especially if you are choosing to remain unvaccinated, right? And so
very true.
that's a way that you don't have to worry about masking up, wash your hands, being exposed to anything like that. Instacart is a great alternative to, being exposed to random people that you don't know. So
Very
just
true.
that's
Very
my
true.
pandemic plug right
Good point. So, if you know that your spirit is willing, but your flesh is somewhat weak,
there.
then just don't put yourself in that temptation's way. The other tip or advice I have is to acknowledge your stressors. The holidays can be very stressful for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. There may be an empty seat at the table that represents a loved one, or maybe your loved ones are living, but you just can't get to them. We're in the middle of a pandemic, financial insecurity, food insecurity. The list
Mhm.
goes on and on and on. So sometimes food is called comfort food for a reason, right? Because it
Right.
serves more than just a nutritional, my stomach's empty, I need to eat. For some people, it also serves a psychological
Yeah.
purpose and fills that void. But acknowledge that and again, kind of take stock of that and get help working through that if you need that. Because again, you can't um accomplish something if you kind of keep hitting those same roadblocks and those same obstacles. So if you need to reach out and get some professional help, please do that. And then the last thing I'm going to recommend you guys, I want to introduce because I feel like it's vegan-ish. I gotta give them something to put on their plate. Flaxseed, flaxseed, flaxseed. Okay, I mean, like, Dr. Monique, what are you talking about? Flaxseed, I think it is and you've heard of it. I'm sure you've heard of it, but
Mhm.
it's a very nutritious. It's a seed, but you can buy it already ground, and it has so many purposes and so many health benefits. It's a wonderful source of omega 3, which is a
Mm.
healthy fatty acid. It has vitamins, it has minerals, it has protein, it has carbs, it has the good fats, and it works wonderfully as an egg replacer. So you can use it in cakes and things and cookies because it works as a binder. It works to as a substitute. So and it doesn't take very much. The recommended daily amount is maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. And you can just it's amazing where you can add it. Salads, smoothies, on
Mm.
your yogurt, add it in your mayonnaise or mustard before you put it on a sandwich. Um, What else? Thickeners in your soups and sauces. So lots of different ways you can incorporate it, but the payoff is really huge. It helps to control blood sugar. It helps with gut health. It
Wow.
helps with heart disease prevention. It helps with cancer prevention. Lots of different things. So, and by it being a seed and having fiber, it can help you feel full, which will help you decrease those have those urges. So, if I had to give you one bit of advice, see how much flaxseed or where you can, add it into your diet, add it into your meals as you
Okay.
go throughout the day. Just this, and it's a small investment for a really big payoff at the end.
That
So,
is that's some great advice. I got a question. I get, because
yeah,
last night made some vegetable beef soup. Yeah, I'm still vegan-ish, so we had
okay,
some
you're in good company.
beef soup. So one of the things that I did, what I added to it was some turmeric into the soup. So I was like, okay, I understand turmeric is anti-inflammatory, it's a natural anti-inflammatory. So I was like, okay, it did not change the flavor whatsoever, right? Because turmeric has very low flavor. So I was like, oh, maybe, but does the heat from the soup, does that change the turmeric at all? Or is it
No, not to my knowledge. I mean, if you think
okay?
about it, turmeric is used in a lot of different. It gives mustard that yellow color,
Yeah,
but no, I don't think as far as you mean does heat like denature it. You mean is
right,
that what you're asking?
yeah,
Yeah, not to my knowledge. It's I know turmeric is used widely in Indian cuisine. It's one of
right.
those staples in their spices, and but no, I don't think so. I sure hope not. I mean, I use it a bunch in pretty much what I use it in is it's cooked. I use it to color
Okay,
my tofu when I'm scrambling tofu to look like scrambled eggs. In fact, I just used some last a few days ago. I'm in culinary school, as I've mentioned, and my assignment this week is I had to make a vegan lemon meringue pie.
okay,
And it was delicious. It was amazing, but I used turmeric to bump up the yellow. I wanted it to look really yellow. So I used it there. And then the vegan, the lemon curd. We talked about lemon curd a few weeks
right,
ago.
right.
Um, that's the filling in a lemon meringue pie. I wanted that to be yellow, and since you do have to cook it, so it was exposed to heat. So yeah, I don't think
Okay.
it's harmful, but that's a good question. We've got some comments. Michael says he hasn't celebrated a holiday in 5 years. It's all commercialized and about money, and it does seem like that.
Mhm.
By looking at TV and so forth. But it's the holidays are what you make it. And starting your own traditions with your family or continuing other family traditions is is a good way to go as well. So those are just my tips on kind of how to kind of push that reset button and get through the rest of these. And I don't want to say get through because, like, I think we've said it before. Like when you say get through something, it's like you don't look forward to it, but I look forward to the holidays.
Right.
And I know for me, that's how it is. So if it's something that you need help kind of dealing with, again, kind of reach out and get that professional help. But hopefully, it's a time that we all can look forward to. Is at least some time off from work, if nothing else. So, and hopefully, getting some downtime. So, all right, it's that time. I think it's that time,
Is
Ellis.
it time for vegan or not?
I think it's that time.
All
And
right.
I thought about myself, what can I do this week? And I said, well, let's do some more beverages. We've done wine, we've done beer, but it's the holiday season, and so some of us may be attending some, holiday parties and having some adult beverages. So we'll toss that around. But let's start with one that everybody can drink. What about Coca-Cola? Regular old Coca-Cola. Is that vegan or not?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, y'all help me out on that one. So, okay, vegan. So we know, wow, it's got some sort of sweetener in it, whether artificial or not. And some of the Cokes, like I drink the one that only has a pure cane sugar, but that's when I drink Coke. Wow, what do
And
y'all
this
think?
probably applies to Pepsi too. If my dad is watching this, I gotta say Pepsi because he's a Pepsi drinker. But the dark colas, we'll put it like that. Our dark
Mm.
colas, um,
So it's got that caramel to give it that color, and it's got some sort of processing. So I think it would depend on the processing. So I would say I'm gonna just go throw it out there. I see. Hold on. Let me see. What, y'all help me out here. I'm
Well,
struggling.
somebody's asking about a vegan eggnog, and I'm she's my new BFF. Yes, I love that. Yes, she certainly can make a vegan eggnog. And we can chat about that in just
Well,
a moment.
Sherry, can you say vegan or not on the Coca-Cola? I need to know.
He's trying to get help from a friend. He needs to
Okay, I
phone
need
a
to
friend.
call her. I need to get a lifeline. Um,
That's right.
so I'm going to say vegan. I'm going to say vegan. I'm going to
Okay.
call vegan
Okay.
on Coke.
All right. So they're quiet tonight. I think they're thinking. I hear them. I hear them thinking out
Mhm.
there. So she said she thinks Coca-Cola is vegan. Okay, so two for in the vegan category. All right. Well, just for the interest of time, yes, it is vegan. The
All
reason
right, all
though,
right.
the reason that I bring it up though is if you look at the list of ingredients, it has natural flavors. And if you remember from
Mm,
a few shows ago, we talked about those natural flavors can actually be animal based or plant based. It's just kind of a
right.
catch all term that the government allows them to use. So when you go on Coca Cola's website, though, they do say that they are vegan. But like Ellis said, they do have the caramel and also high fructose corn sugar. I think it's, and I don't have a bottle here, but I think if you look at the ingredient list, I think that high fructose corn sugar is number two on the ingredient list.
Yes,
And as we know, it's
right
the
after water.
right, exactly. The higher the ingredient is, that means the more more proportion it is in the recipe or in the
Yes,
ingredients.
yes.
So we know that high fructose corn sugar is not good for us. So it's vegan, but that's an example of something that's vegan but not necessarily good for you.
So think about it
Okay.
like this. So like when you go to if you go to like one of those little swanky bars every once in a while, and they have a typical bar ingredient for a bartender is simple syrup. And simple
Mm,
syrup is basically just water with sugar dissolved in it.
one
And
to one.
and that's the basis of your Coke, right?
Okay.
Water, high fructose corn syrup, it's concentrate, and then they put the caramel flavor and all the other stuff. But the two base ingredients are water and a sugar. So got to be careful about that because especially my diabetics and people that are pre-diabetic, which most people don't know that they're pre-diabetic.
Exactly.
Um, Drinking that sugary Coke can really do something to your blood sugar. So just got to
I
be careful with that.
I have a quick, I'm so glad you said that. I have a quick true life story. So, in my former life, I'm a family practitioner and I did primary care for 15 years. And one day I had a patient come in and he was presenting with symptoms of diabetes. He was thirsty, he was urinating, couldn't, all the classic symptoms. So I
Mhm.
took a good, and he had never had any problems before. It really was really sudden onset, which is not quite typical for the classic type 2 diabetic. They usually have symptoms over years, but his symptoms had a fairly quick onset. Come to find out, he was drinking something crazy, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 liters of soda a day.
Oh wow.
And I was like, that stops now, you know? And it scared him enough that he actually stopped. And so I bought him back, and because we started him on some medicine. But I said, look, I really think if you just cut out all these sodas, I mean liters. He wasn't drinking
Right.
the cans, he was
Yeah.
drinking liters.
Yeah.
And so I mean his poor body was just being, flooded with all this sugar. Sure enough, he cut out all that and his sugars went back to normal and we were able to take him off the medications.
Oh,
So, and he probably had a family history or a predisposition and that tipped him over.
right.
So definitely agree with
But
Ellis.
that's a triumph. That's definitely a triumph because sometimes you get on medication, it's hard to get off. So it's
Exactly.
great.
So
So
he did the work. He did the work. So
plant based diet, and
plant-based diet.
cut out those sugars because there are a lot of foods that will help lower your blood sugar. Cinnamon being one of them, and since we're in the holiday season, cinnamon is I'm,
Cinnamon and nutmeg. That's a marriage made in heaven right there.
yep.
All right. So we talked about Coke. What about tequila? Is tequila
Ooh,
vegan or
hey.
not? And I was going to bring out my bottle of Patron, but I said, maybe I won't do that because it's almost empty and I didn't want to be
Ooh.
judged.
It's all good. This is family. This is all family right here. So
But I've had that bottle of tequila for a very, very, very long time. But yes, is tequila vegan or not?
vegan or not? All right. So it is made from a cactus, right? I think it's made from a cactus, some form of cactus, and then it's
Ellis
goes.
is like he's like the Rain Man of like, he was out. I didn't even know that. I'm like, that wasn't in my notes, but okay.
I'm a closet nerd, and
Hey,
my wife gets on me all the time. She's like, if I'm dating myself, but y'all remember that show, Cheers? Uh,
yes,
and Cliff, he would have all those useless facts.
yes,
My wife would call me Cliff sometimes
yeah,
because
Cliff.
I have a mind full of a whole bunch of useless facts. That one day, one of my bucket list items is to appear on Jeopardy, but I'm derailing the whole process here. But
Well,
yes, so
good luck.
tequila is made. It's based out of. It's from a cactus. It's a form of cactus. Thank you, Cynthia. No judgment.
Yeah.
And so, um, based on that, but I know there's a process, especially when you're making an alcohol, liquor is distillation. So beer and wine is fermentation, and alcohol is distillation. So it's a different level of process. So I don't know what that process is, but just because of the base is cactus, I'm going to say a plant based. I'm going to say vegan on
Okay. So
on
we've got
that.
one vote for vegan. What do you guys think out there? Is he any takers with Ellis, or is he gonna
Sherry, Michael, Cynthia, Barb, get at me. Help me out. Let me know.
vegan? Cynthia's okay. Cynthia says yes, but dot dot dot. Oh, I don't know. Yes, kinda. Vegan-ish. Is that what that dot dot dot
Veganish,
means?
right? The name of the show. Vegan. Sherry, thank you.
Very vegan. She's standing on it.
All
Okay.
right.
So yes,
Vegan, yes,
definitely yes.
yes. Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Ebony.
Okay. There we go.
Hey, Ebony, what's up?
Yes. Yes, yes. So yes, it is vegan, and it's from. It's I brought this up because I wanted to just speak on it's agave. It's actually the plant is called agave tequila,
I
or
got
excuse
you.
me, tequilana, which is blue agave or agave azul. So yes, it's a Mexican plant, and so it's the same plant that gives us agave, which we use as a sweetener. Um, Not necessarily a healthier sweetener. Agave kind of has
That was
this
my next question.
misnomer. Yes, agave's got some good PR folks, because for some reason people think agave is healthier for you, and it's really not. We can talk about that another time. But
Okay.
yes, tequila, agave, same plant, and so you're absolutely right. It is vegan, and but if things are distilled a certain way, or like we talked about sugar, right? Sugar is processed through bones, so it really just, but in its pure form, yes, it is vegan. So
Okay.
she said vegan, but don't get drunk. Exactly. Drink responsibly, right?
But you'll find, and I think it's important. I think that's a good connection because I didn't know it was the same plant, um, and so there's a lot of sugars, right? Alcohol in general
Right.
has a lot of sugars, and so you got to be careful about that, especially the liquor, because liquor, it might not be sweet. Like if you drink some tequila, you don't think sweet. You have to put the simple syrup and the
Right.
margarita mix and all that other stuff in it to sweeten it up. But it comes from the same plant that makes a sugar, and vodka and all those other, they have a lot of sugars in it. So when you put the cranberry juice and the sweet and
Exactly.
sour and all that stuff, you're making a very high calorie, high sugary drink that has very little, if no, nutritional value. So you got to be
Exactly.
very, very careful with your drinking.
Those liquid calories, right? That's why I don't
Yeah.
go to Starbucks. So it's like I don't like to. I don't want my calories liquid. I want to eat my calories. But yes, you're absolutely right. And just as a frame of reference for you. So for those of you who are interested, if when we look at per gram, how many calories something has.
Mhm.
So for example, carbs and proteins per gram has 4 calories.
Right.
Fat has 9. Guess how many alcohol has per gram?
More than two hands worth.
No, it's between the 4 and the 9, but 7.
7. Okay.
So
Wow.
alcohol has 7 calories per gram. So just to add to your point, Ellis, that it just because it's liquid, it still adds up. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
wow. Did you see what Cynthia said?
agave no good. I switched from honey to agave.
Go back to
Yeah,
honey.
agave has The one benefit about agave is it may not raise the glycemic index as much, which is a measure of how fast your sugar goes up after you eat. But as far as calories and effect on blood sugar, it's not. I'm sorry, calories. It's not any better than sugar. It's so yeah. It's got
So
no.
was
Like I
honey?
said,
So was she doing the right thing by having honey as a sweetener?
honey is probably a little bit better
Okay.
because it is, it's not processed. But
Mhm.
again, it is any sugar should be used in moderation. But
Okay.
yes, we do think that honey and probably maple syrup are a little bit better for you than cane sugar and agave. Yes.
Pure maple syrup, not the syrup that not the stuff that they
It's not that imitation. We're talking about the stuff
imitation.
that comes out of a tree in
Yes.
either Vermont or Maine
Yes.
or
And
Canada.
molasses. What about molasses? Is molasses
Oh gosh, yeah, molasses. That's what is molasses? That's sugar. That's like I think that comes from cane sugar. You got me on that one. I have to
right?
research that. But yeah, so they all those sweeteners are to should be really used in moderation.
Right.
And so that's one thing I like about baking with maple syrup. The ratio there is 2/3. So for every cup of sugar, you only use 2/3 of maple syrup.
Okay.
So it's less. So yeah. Because
Okay.
again, it's don't think that, oh, I can do whatever because I'm doing this. No, it's if you're going to use it in place of, so it's not in addition to sugar. If you're going to use it in place of, you still need to respect it because the calories and the carbs are still there. So
Gotcha.
Davita said it comes from sugar cane. Yes, thank you. I
Mhm.
thought so. I've got some in my cabinet, but I very rarely use it. So, well, I just want to get to the nutrition and news really quickly
Okay.
because I came across this article that I thought was just another way of kind of saying the same thing we've been saying, but as far as the effect on our brain, and I thought this was a really interesting way. So this was written from a Harvard. She's a nutritional psychiatrist, which I thought was very fascinating.
Hmm.
So she
Okay.
basically looks at the effect of food on your brain.
Hmm.
And she recommended, of course, cutting back and avoiding these foods to help fight inflammation and promote brain health. And it's some of the stuff we already know. Added sugars. What were we just talking about? So too much sugar. Think about your brain. Your brain is floating in this what we call CSF, cerebral spinal fluid.
Right.
If there's too much sugar in that fluid, that's actually been linked to memory problems. And in
Mm.
fact, one of the things when diabetics, when people come in, we call DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, they can either be, they can be unconscious or they can be confused because their sugar
Mm.
is just exposed to their brain is exposed to just way too much sugar.
Okay.
So, like we said before, avoiding the high fructose corn sugar, or excuse me, corn syrup, the processed baked goods and sodas. The recommended amount for added sugars or sugars for per day is 25 grams for women and 36 grams for men. And what you can do is look on your label, your food label, and see where it says under added sugar and see how much is there. So you can
Okay.
have that as a rough guide. Fried foods. Again, we already know fried foods are not good for us, but now we know it affects our brains as well. Diets that are high in this, they did a study with over 18,000 people. They had lower scores in learning and memory. And that's because it's due to inflammation. The
Mm.
free radicals that you get when you fry food, that causes inflammation and damage to blood vessels in the brain and throughout the body. So they had an increased risk for depression as well. The high glycemic load carbs, so things that are
Wait a
made.
minute. So, all right. So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So increased risk for depression from a comfort food. I think about how like that so you could create this kind of endless cycle.
that's abusive, isn't it?
Right.
That's like an
Right.
abusive relationship.
Right. I know
But
some
yeah,
fried chicken, some people eat fried chicken for some comfort, but they're not getting the comfort because it could be increasing their depression.
right. And I know when I eat certain things, and I think more, unfortunately, I haven't had that struggle with depression, but I know I feel guilty when I eat certain things. So that's doing something in my
Could be.
brain. So yeah, but high glycemic load carbs, things that are made from refined flour, like white breads, pasta, things like that. Again, also can increase the risk for depression. So you want to fill your plate with the better quality carbs, your whole grains, which are high in fiber. Again,
Mhm.
all this stuff we kind of know, but it's just interesting to hear how it plays out in your brain. And then the other two things was alcohol. And this one
Mm.
I found really interesting. The study found that people who either abstained completely, so the teetotalers, they didn't drink at all, And the people who drank more than 14 drinks a week, they both had increased risk in dementia versus the people who didn't drink, oh, excuse me, the people who drank in moderation had the lower risk. So there's something to be said there because we know red wine has
Hmm.
protective benefits. So there's a little bit of an argument here for, and I think this study had about 8,000 people in that one. So I thought that was very interesting. So the
Right.
teetotalers and the ones who got ripped both had depression, or, I'm sorry, dementia, but the ones who did moderation were okay. And then
Good.
lastly, nitrates. And nitrates are what you
Yeah.
find in your sausages,
Yeah.
bacon, sandwich meat, those deli meats. They're
All the
produced
things that are delicious.
because it's used as a nitrates are used as a preservative,
Right.
and so it can too be connected with depression, and even and I really found this interesting, can affect gut bacteria, which then can affect and increase the risk for bipolar disorder. So
Mm,
that really just speaks to the mind body connection
right.
and just gives you something to think about. Really, no pun intended. So if you just feel like you can't live without sausage and salami in your life, look for ones that are made using buckwheat as the filler, because again, that's a grain, not going to have that uh, nitrate
Mhm.
component. So I just
Right.
thought those were just fascinating and just wanted to give you that information because, like I said, we already know this stuff is not good for us as far as our cholesterol and our blood pressure and diabetes. But to hear how it affects our brains as well, I think it gives it a really different take.
Right.
So
What that definitely was interesting, and especially in terms of like the sugar on your brain, alcohol. I kind of knew that alcohol in moderation it can be have some benefits.
yeah.
Now moderation is subjectively defined, and so that's where we get into. But moderation is defined as less than 2 drinks per day.
Right, if for a man and for a woman, so I think what is it, less than 3 drinks for a man and 2 drinks for a
Right.
woman, and there's actually a condition called Wernicke's encephalopathy, which is actually an alcohol induced from, years of alcohol abuse, where it affects your brain, and so we know, that
Right.
I've saw that as a resident in Charlotte, and that's not something you want to have. So, but
No.
yeah, so I hope you guys found this enjoyable and useful and helps you plan your rest of your Christmas and holiday meals and drinks.
But
Because right?
sprinkle a little flaxseed on your tequila.
There you go. On that eggnog. Somebody was asking about some eggnog.
Right.
Put some flaxseed on it. And speaking of flaxseed, as a teaser for next week, we are going to be talking about, can you have your vegan cake and eat it too? And what
Oh,
I want to do is talk about just some egg substitutes. My book is coming out. I mentioned that I submitted it. One of the chapters I talk about in there is egg replacers. And so of course we know you can't make a cake without an egg, can you? Well, yeah, you can. And we're going to talk about that and why it's important. So
well, look, I'm tuning in and I'm gonna be here. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. 'Cause that's gonna be interesting. So yeah, so check us out next week. Share this with a friend, like the show. Always make sure that you follow Physician in the Kitchen.
that's right.
I'll put it on screen here for you all to, and go to drmoniquemay.com and check out all her recipes and blogs and all of that stuff.
Well,
So
if you want to get your pre-sale copy of the book, go to docfixmyplatebook.com. I've got some recipes featuring flaxseed. I've got some drinks in there, some non-adult beverage drinks. So a little bit of something for everyone in there. I'm really excited about it. And we'll have a show where we talk about the book so you have a better idea what to expect.
absolutely, absolutely. So looking forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank you all for joining us this week. Doc, sign us off.
All right, everybody. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Be safe, be happy, and make some good food in the meantime. Talk to you soon.